Sakamoto Days is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Yuto Suzuki. The story revolves around Taro Sakamoto, a retired legendary hitman who has settled into a quiet and mundane life as a family man, who runs a modest convenience store in a small city. However, his peaceful life is disrupted when former enemies and colleagues from his past come seeking revenge. To protect his family and loved ones, Sakamoto must use his exceptional combat skills to face off against a variety of adversaries while trying to maintain his ordinary facade. As the name of the series would suggest, this series revolves around Taro Sakamoto. However, the story is actually told through the point of view of Shin, a former partner to Sakamoto when he operated as an assassin. Shin starts the story with the mission to assassinate his former partner, but is quickly indoctrinated into joining Sakamoto's efforts for a happy family lifestyle. Shin has a telepathic ability and can read the minds of those around him. The series does find unique ways of showcasing the power within combat and conversation, but it also serves as a vehicle for the viewer to understand the point of view of the other characters surrounding him throughout the series. Sakamoto himself is a man of very few words, but through Shin's telepathic powers, the audience can get a glimpse into his perspective throughout the entire story. Lou is the next character to be introduced within the story, and she more or less rounds out the core found family that we follow throughout the series. Lou is not an assassin, rather a member of a powerful family with mafia ties. Sakamoto and Shin get roped into her story and adventure on a search for hidden treasure, ultimately leading to her joining the Sakamoto family herself. Lou is a talented fighter in her own right, and she folds into the dynamic of the Sakamoto family seamlessly. Because Sakamoto is so revered as such a legendary assassin, there is a huge bounty on his head. So the series follows a formula of various assassins setting out to kill Taro Sakamoto, and together Lou, Shin, and Taro himself fight to defend the Sakamoto family and the life that they have built from those assassins. On paper, I like the setup a lot. The plot has room for plenty of action and dynamic fight choreography while maintaining its tone of silly humor and heartfelt storylines. The tone of the series often feels like watching something like Mashal, One Punch Man, or even Spy Family. Unfortunately, I don't feel as though this series is executed as well as any of those other properties. I think the humor is one of the weakest aspects of this story. There are certainly times where I was enjoying the gags on screen, but they can often feel repetitive or even predictable. The one gag that is consistent throughout the series that I did enjoy is any time that Sakamoto finds a way to turn any innocuous household item into a deadly weapon. In fact, I think that this is an aspect that specifically sets the series apart from others. It's an aspect that actually makes the series shine. However, when those gags are used, they're largely just visual gags, and the dialogue surrounding it feels like there's room for improvement. The action in the series is something that I generally feel very high on. The theme park episode where Shin is fighting off an assassin while riding a roller coaster comes to mind as a specific example of how the series uses its unique tone and setting to deliver awesome and dynamic battle sequences. The staging of these sequences are often unique and fun. However, I feel like the art style doesn't always match what's being set up. Judging an anime on its art style is always a tough conversation, because on one hand, I'm sure that the animators and production for the series did the best that they could. The animation industry as a whole is one that seems to always have their workers overworked and underpaid. That being said, when it comes to anime, the art style and animation is and always has been a huge part in forming that anime's specific identity. The art style here does feel dated. I often feel like I'm watching an anime from the early 2000s, especially when it comes to their character models, hair, and eye design, which at times can even feel nostalgic, like in a good way, but when that is put into action, it can often feel stiff and underdeveloped, at least watching it from a 2025 point of view. As the series continues, we are introduced to many other assassin characters. And I will say the series definitely shines when it's displaying the unique abilities of that each assassin possesses. At its best, it feels reminiscent of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in how it fleshes out powers in fresh and inventive ways. At its worst, again, it could just feel predictable and repetitive. In the series' defense, the villain of the week format is super common with anime and always has been, to be honest, and it may just be something that as a viewer I have started to grow tired of and want to move away from. But at least as it's displayed throughout this series, it's something that I got a little bored of. Overall, these aspects lend me to feeling like Sakamoto Days is just too little too late. I think that there's a lot of aspects of the series that just weren't executed to its best ability, and I find myself thinking that if this was released 10, 15 years ago, it would be something that I would have absolutely loved. At the end of the day, Sakamoto Days does have a lot to love. There are endearing characters with a fun setup and distinct identity. It's not the best show I've seen in recent times, but it's also certainly not the worst. If I were to recommend this series, I'd say it's a fun watch to throw on if you're in the mood for something lighthearted and something that you can maybe even turn your brain off a little to enjoy. With how things are in the world, I wouldn't blame you for enjoying something that lets you just disassociate a little bit without having and feeling strong emotions. Again, I think that if Sakamoto Days was given a larger budget and maybe came out 5 to 10 years ago, it would be one of the most popular anime upon its release. However, with what we've received, I would give Sakamoto Days the rating of a 6.8. It has great moments overall, but its execution leaves some room to be desired in each direction. But hey, that's just what I think. Of course, I'm not a genius. I don't work in the animation industry. I'm just a guy who watches a lot of anime. So I want to hear what you guys have to think. Did you enjoy Sakamoto Days? Did it live up to the hype for you upon its release? Or is it kind of just mid amongst some of the other great properties that we have within the anime industry right now? Please let me know what you think. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. I'm doing the best I can on this channel, and we're just going to keep pushing forward. But yeah, I'd appreciate any comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember that my name is Darius, and I love you.